Hello, everyone. I'm looking a little rough today for the wear. Spent all day outside in the sun, running around. I'm exhausted since I got up. I went to bed at 5, woke up at 6. So, yeah, that sucked. But I was energetic all day and felt good, and still rolling off an hour of sleep. So, today I wanted to talk about car brands I would never buy or never buy again because some of these I did own. And I've got 10 here, and I looked at all of the manufacturers that are selling in the US. Now, some of the like Fisker, obviously I would never buy a Fisker because they've went bankrupt twice and the support for their cars is like gone. There's Canoe, which I think they went out of business too. I'm not sure, but there's some smaller, niche, Polestar's another one. There's Rivian's another, kind of niche little area. So there are some small manufacturers, but I'm talking about major manufacturers that sell cars in the U.S. And I found 10 of them that I won't touch. So number one, Hyundai. Not impressed. The wife had a Tucson that we bought in 22, owned it for 3 years, put about 40,000 miles on it, and it was in the shop a lot. Every time the check engine light came on, they'd be like, "Oh, well, how long have you been driving it? Did it go away?" It could be the gas cap, because we had that a few times where it was the gas cap. And then on our trip to Ohio, the car started sputtering, and we're like halfway there, and we're like, "Oh crap, are we gonna make it?" It would sputter less at highway speeds, but it would like when we were pulling over to get gas, it would really like stutter really bad. So that ended up being a blown cylinder. So that was replaced once we got it to Ohio. We had to stay an extra week because of that. Thanks, Hyundai. And then when we got home, about I want to say 4 or 5 months later, the check engine light came on again, and then it went off, and then it came on again. So we're kind of like watching it, like waiting to see if it's going to go off, and it doesn't this time. And so we take it in, and Hyundai, like the service dealership at the dealership sucked too, because they sent me like a recommended services of over $1,500 in recommended services for the car, like new tires all around, even though they were at 5/32 and all this other stuff that they were trying to upcharge me for. They didn't even tell me what the check engine light was on, why it was on. They didn't report back to me on the whole reason why I took the car there. So that ended up being a bad fuel injector, which they are under a class action lawsuit for their faulty fuel injectors failing. Yeah, Hyundai, I don't know why so many people like them. They're not good cars. I've talked to a lot of mechanics. I've watched a lot of stuff on YouTube. And the mechanics, not a lot of mechanics, a couple mechanics. The couple mechanics that I talked to, like at Ford, of course, they're going to talk shit. They work at another dealership, but there's another one here local to me. And they said they've seen a lot of Hyundais, with engine issues. So I don't think they know how to build them. And so on number two, I have Kia and Genesis lumped together. So Hyundai and Kia and Genesis are all related very closely, using same engines, things of that nature. So yeah, I won't touch any of those three now. I just, bad experience one time, and people telling me that it's not just an isolated lemon, or I just had bad luck, then yeah, I'm not touching that brand ever again. I didn't touch them for the longest time because I knew Hyundais were garbage, especially back in the day. They were just complete trash. So I never bought one for many years until 2022 was my first Hyundai, and it was garbage. So yeah, I mean, the car was nice, the interior was really nice, and the value for what you got, with all the safety systems and the ventilated seats. We got the SEL, which is like the third trim up, I think, out of like 5 or 6 trims, and it had ventilated seats, leather interior, safety systems. The engine sucked. No turbo on the 4-cylinder. It was slow as hell. I'm trying to think. Yeah, there was just no like driving experience with that car. It was just 100% utilitarian. The new Camry that we just got is faster and more fun to drive than that. So when a Camry is fun to drive, you're having issues, right? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so we've got, one was Hyundai, number 2 is Kia Genesis. I just lumped them together. I guess that would be 3 and 4 if you want to be technical. I guess I got 11. GM's pure garbage. General Motors, bleh. The interiors are trash, squeaky. I had a Corvette, and you could smell the glue that they used to glue things together. I mean, it was so bad. Like, I had to take the top off and roll the windows down. It was choking me out. And that car sucked. It had torque converter problems, had all kinds of different issues, brakes squeaking all the damn time, no matter what I did. I owned the car for not even 2 months and got rid of it. It was a Corvette C7 Z51 3LT with blue with red striping, and red striping on the rims. Was gorgeous. It looked great, but sucked. I hated driving it. I drove it up to, the longest I drove that Corvette was I drove it up 71 up to Columbus from Cincinnati, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how you drive. And it was the most uncomfortable I've ever been in a car. I hated it. Hated it. You got a lot of looks. You know, people like Corvettes, but no, that Corvette sucked. I don't know about the C8, but I'll never buy another GM product again. I won't. Just will not. My buddy bought I think it was a 2020 or something 100th anniversary Chevy 1500 Sierra, whatever, fully loaded and everything. And he's had nothing but transmission problems with it, slipping. And Chevy has taken it back so many times to fix it. He should have just lemon lawed that thing a long time ago. And yet he doesn't, and he just deals with it. So I don't understand that. But yeah, GM sucks. Cadillac also sucks because it's a GM product. Sorry, guys, not sorry. No reliability, subpar build quality, squeaky, rattly, engine transmission problems. They just suck. BMW is my fifth one. So owned a 2007. I've owned 2 BMWs. I owned the 2007 335i hardtop convertible, and I owned a 1990 BMW 5 Series, which I loved. The 95 Series was amazing. That was back when I was in my early 20s and I didn't know anything about car maintenance. Never changed oil in the car. Drove it all over Europe for like 3 or 4 years. France, Italy, Austria, just Germany, everywhere. Drove that car everywhere. Never changed the oil. Then one day when my wife was driving it, it blew up on her. So luckily she was able to make it to an overpass and park the car there. But yeah, the engine just blew up from lack of oil probably. But the newer BMWs, complete garbage. So the thing about German cars is they tend to focus more on performance and weight savings and the latest tech. So if that's what you're into, you're going to pay for it. The parts are like 4 or 5 times more expensive than your average Toyota. And a lot of the parts inside the engine bay compared to like Japanese cars, there's a lot more plastic in these cars because they have to custom make a lot of parts with the newer technology and tolerances that they have in the engines and around the car. Since they're always on the cusp of advancement, those reliability isn't their number one concern, like a Honda or a Toyota or even a Mazda. So what happens is those plastic parts break, and when they break, they're expensive. They're newer parts. They're not something that have been around for a while. Like, Toyota just, how long has the Prius been around? And now they're just coming out with the Camry on their 5th generation hybrid. So their 5th generation hybrid, and they've been making the Prius came out like 30 years ago or something crazy like that. So yeah, it was back. When did the Prius come out? In the 90s sometime, I want to say, or early 2000s. They weren't the first hybrid, but they perfected it. But yeah, BMW. Nope. My 2007 335i spent more time in the shop than I drove it. About a month before the new car warranty ran out, both turbos blew. I didn't know that I had a month of warranty left. So I took it in and I was like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but the car is slower. It's not as fast as it used to be. And then they came back and they're like, oh, that's because both your turbos are blown. They're like, don't worry, those covered under warranty. You're still got a month left. I'm like, oh, sweet. So when I picked up the car, I asked them, hey, how much would that have cost me? And they're like, oh, a little over $6,000. Yeah, $6,000. That's like a whole nother car. No, BMW. I can't afford. I'm not rich. I can't afford to drive that shit. You know, something breaks, you know, and it's out of warranty. Those are lease cars. German cars, Audi, Mercedes, BMW, Porsche. Porsche's a little more reliable. And they hold their value pretty well. So maybe they're the exception to the rule. But yeah, those cars are lease cars. You own them past 4 years or 3 years, you're going to have issues, especially when you get past that, 50, 60,000 mile mark. Stuff's just going to start breaking. I just had a buddy, BMW's barely at 100,000 miles. This is 2018, so it's 7 years old, and he just dropped $5,000 to fix it. So yeah, unless you're rich, you have no business driving a luxury car, I think. I had no business driving a luxury car because I wanted to be fancy and I wanted to look good, back when I was younger. I don't care about that shit really anymore. I like feeling good in my car. I like looking at my car and knowing, hey, that's my car. When I get in it and drive it, I like to enjoy the drive. So that's why I tend to go more towards sporty cars. I'm not an SUV guy. I could be a truck guy. I've had 2 trucks, but I'm just more of a sports car sedan type guy. And the car that I have now does 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. I don't know what its top speed is because I've never done it. It's probably not that high because it's an electric vehicle. And yeah, it rides like a Mustang and drives like a Mustang. And, it's good for me right now. I love it. But anyways, enough rant on the BMW. Never again on the BMW. Number 6, Tesla. Garbage build quality, panel gaps, rattles and squeaks. I don't know how the newest Model Y that just came out is. I don't know if they've improved. I'm sure they have, but they haven't been around long enough making cars. They're not like Ford or Toyota or these major manufacturers that have perfected no panel gaps or minimal panel gaps and paint issues and things like that. They've kind of worked through those issues. Some haven't, but a lot of the good ones have. So I don't think Tesla's quite there yet. Last time I used their full self-driving technology was before I got the Polestar, and I did not like it. It was doing a lot of phantom braking. And plus, Elon's kind of being a douche right now. Sorry, not sorry. He needs to get his shit together and get back to running his companies. And I don't need to hear his political opinions, I don't need him firing a bunch of civil workers and all this stuff and 80,000 workers at the VA. I don't care what your politics are, but that is not right to let all those people go. Yeah, you can streamline the government, but this is not the way to do it. So anyways, enough politics. Sorry. Don't mean to let my craziness, my woke heart come into the play here. But I'm actually a centrist, if you guys really want to know. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm not an independent. I'm a centrist. And, I vote for who I think is the best candidate. Whether that's Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green Party, whatever. I vote whoever I think is the best. And I vote my conscience, and that's all I do. So, so no Tesla. Nissan, number 7. Not reliable. I had a Sentra a while back, and it was just constant problems. That was back in the 90s. And, they're about to go bankrupt, so I would completely stay away from them unless they make a deal to save their company. You might be owning a car without dealer or service support. Yes, there'll be mechanics that can work on them still, but if you get a new Nissan, you're running into an area where it might be hard to get parts for them if they go under or something like that. Worst case scenario though, right? It's not a guaranteed that if they do go out of business, you'll lose support for your car. But I wouldn't want to, that's kind of one of the reasons why I got out of the Polestar, because they're not doing so well. Their stock's like at $1 right now. And I was afraid to end up like an owner of a Fisker. The Fisker Ocean, which was an SUV that came out like a year or two ago, has lost complete all support. It was a $70,000 vehicle. You can get them now for like 9 or 10 grand because they're not, last I checked, I don't know if they've changed it, but last I checked, Fisker went bankrupt again. And, let's add that to the list. Number 12, we'll add that, Fisker. But yeah, I don't even think they're making cars anymore. And people have been complaining about not getting their updates, and basically the car's a brick. So yeah, one of the things you got to be careful for when you're buying an EV, it's more of a computer than car, really. And they need their updates, and they need constant support. So if you're buying an EV, buy it from a reputable big company. So Nissan, not reliable, garbage. Number 8, Volkswagen. Yeah, can you say Dieselgate? Can you say we had to pay $38 billion because we bullshitted and tried to lie our way through it? Yeah. They built basically the Electrify America network in the U.S. By paying like over $5 billion in fines to the United States alone. That's just one country. And they're still paying, I think, to other countries. But yeah, Volkswagen for the money. Again, German car, and just not good. I never owned one and never wanted to. I looked at the Golf one time and I was like, for the money, just not that great. Number 9, I have Audi here because it's basically a fancy Volkswagen. Sorry, not sorry. Number 10, Jaguar. Oh my God. They're cool cars and they're fun to drive. I've driven the F-Type. I think that's the only Jaguar I've ever driven. Yeah, they let me take a brand new F-Type home for the night. Like a $70,000 car. And they're like, oh, you think, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, bet. I drove it all night. And then I took it back, and, I didn't put like a ton of miles on it. I just drove it around a little town, maybe put 50 miles on it or something, not like 200 or anything like that. But, I just drove it around my neighborhood and drove it around, up and down the street a little bit, and drove to Tarpon Springs and back. And it was very nice, luxurious, fun sounding, great, but again, maintenance nightmare. And last and very least, Land Rover. Look nice. I'm sure they're great when they work, but yeah, if you like losing money hand over fist, you ever seen the resale value on these things? Because they're not reliable, they suck. They're horrible vehicles, and they're for rich people to drive and look fancy. Do you know what the number one car? I'll tell you what the top 5 cars are for the rich, for millionaires. Okay, 8% of millionaires drive Subaru. That's number 5 on terms of the cars that most millionaires drive. Number 4. I'm trying to remember what number 4 was. What was number 4? Oh man, I'm missing one. What was number 4? What was a Japanese brand? Oh, number 4 is Lexus, which I think is also 8%. I don't remember the exact numbers. Number 3, surprisingly, is Ford. Who knew? I like Ford. Not all their vehicles, they can be, they don't really make crappy cars, but they did make the Exploder. the Ford Explorer back in the day was not a good car, and some of their smaller trucks were not good. Ranger was like the 90s Ranger was a champ, I think. Regardless, Ford is number 3. Number 2 is Honda by like 20 some percent of millionaires drive Hondas. Yeah, Honda. And then the number 1 vehicle driven by millionaires, Toyota. You know, people out there trying to look rich, you know, living paycheck to paycheck. You know, they make, you know, anywhere from a server to a neurosurgeon living paycheck to paycheck. He may be making $500,000 a year or more, but he has a $500,000 lifestyle. He's living in, you know, a couple $1 million house, driving, you know, the $200,000 Porsche and all this stuff, and he's just living hand to mouth, like the guy that's making $50,000 a year. But he's living hand to mouth because he's really got no choice right now with these prices, you know. But yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you want, right? If you like Kia and you like the K5 car, or you like the Hyundai Ioniq, and that's your deal, go get it. Don't listen to me. I'm just telling you what I've learned and my opinions, and, you know, take it with a grain of salt. You know, everything I say, fact check it. It may not be 100% factual. I try to be, you know, do my research and be 100% factual as possible, but, you know, I'm not infallible. I mess up too. But yeah, those are the 12 cars I would not buy. And I'll tell you some cars I would buy: Toyota, Honda, not Acura, Lexus. But Lexus, I would have to have a lot more money to justify the extra $10,000 to $15,000 to get basically the same car. It's a little nicer. The engine's tuned a little bit differently. They have a smidgen more reliability because more attention is paid on them, you know, in terms of the engine tuning and the mechanics, and stuff just fits better together. More soundproofing, higher quality interior materials. I think their safety systems might have a little more detection than the Toyota suite. I've owned 2 Lexuses. I owned the IS 250, which kind of sucked. It was way underpowered. I should have got the 350. And I had a Lexus ES 350 at 19. That was a beautiful car. I loved it. Other than that, Mazda. I would definitely buy a Mazda. I think Mazda is underrated. I think they're very, very nice looking cars. Interior's nice, and they're fairly reliable. My favorite brand, though, is not the most reliable in the world. They're not horrible. I think they're like 7th in reliability out of the, 27 manufacturers in the U.S. Or that sell in the U.S. But Volvo. I love Volvos. It's probably my... Toyota is creeping in, though. We just bought our first Toyota, the new 25 Camry. And I got to tell you, man, that thing is as nice, if not nicer, than my 19 ES 350. It is like the leather in there is supple. It's got laminated glass in the front to quiet the road noise. The AC blasts ice cold. Of course, it's a brand new car. The JBL speakers sound great. The safety system's cool. It watches your face, and if you're like looking away or have your phone in front of your face, the car yells at you. I don't know if you can turn that off, but I'm not a distracted driver, so it doesn't bother me. Trying to think what else. Yeah, Toyota's really creeping up there, but Volvo, I like Volvo because their number 1 priority is safety. They actually got a mission that that one day no one will ever die in their cars again from an auto accident. Those Volvos are like tanks, man. And yeah, they're not the most reliable, but they are fun to drive. They are expensive. I mean, not just to buy, but like to repair. So again, just like any, you know, European car, you know, they're going to be about 4 to 5 times more on parts. But you know what? It's not just the car you're buying, right? It's the whole experience from the manufacturer and the dealership network. So like when you buy a Ford, you're really going to have like inconsistencies in the dealerships. So like I went to a dealership down the way and took my car in and was looking. It was for its first service, I think, once I got to 10,000 miles. And then because I bought the car at 9, and then I took it in after I drove it 1,000 for service, and they looked at it, and of course they tried to sell me a bunch of crap, and I denied all of it. And their waiting room had like furniture from the 70s, like it was all weird colors and old. And all they had was like one of those automatic coffee machines, no like water. They had a water fountain, no soda. Volvo, they'll pick up your car and deliver you a loaner to your house or place of work. And they'll bring your car back. You go to their dealership and they've got, snacks and nice big screen TVs, feng shui furniture, all kinds of different things to drink, and they treat you like gold. Like everything is a warranty issue when you're under warranty. Squeak, warranty issue. This warranty issue. And they find it. Like the dealership that I went to, I never went to another Volvo dealership because these mechanics and service techs would always find what I'm talking about. And I'm a picky bastard about my cars, about any squeaks, rattles, weird noises that the AC's making, anything like that. Like my Polestar was making it. I thought the AC was too loud and it was the middle of summer, and it could have been that it was just working harder. But I was like, hey, my AC is really loud. Is this normal? And they looked at it and they're like, oh, we need to replace the bracket that holds it because it's vibrating, stuff like that. And their customer service at Volvo is kisses. Now with Ford, you're going to spend less and less ownership costs, but you're not going to get that level of like service like you would at a Lexus or a Mercedes or something like that. So when you're buying a luxury car, part of that is the name because of all the additional lengths that they will go through to make sure you're a happy customer. Like my Lexus ES was a 19. It was ultra luxury. It was the top of the line that I bought. And I had some wind noise issues due to a piece of trim that wasn't glued down properly. I think it was on the A-pillar. And I took it in and said, hey, I'm having excessive wind noise on the highways. It's, really bothering me. And they apologized and they found the issue. And they said, hey, as an apology, we want to tint your windows for you for free. I'm like, well, you don't have to do that. I was like, just fix the problem. And they're like, no, we're going to, Lexus said to go ahead and tint your windows. So I was like, damn, well, hey, I'll take it. So I got free tinted windows out of it. Polestar sent me, which was owned by Volvo at the time, but they're owned by the same parent company, Geely. Polestar sent me a $400 check because a crack appeared in my headlight. And I think that it cracked from like some kind of weird thing. They're saying that it was a rock or something that hit it, but I couldn't find an impact zone. But I complained about it, went to corporate, and they're like, hey, we'll send you like $400 as a, but the light was like over $3,000 to replace it. And you can't replace just the plastic cover. Oh, no. You have to replace the whole damn unit for like $3,000 for one headlight. It's ridiculous. I can't afford these luxury cars anymore. Will I own a Volvo again? Probably not. Will I own a Lexus again? You bet your ass I will. One day when I have more money, my dream car is the LC500 Lexus bespoke. That blue and white interior, the blue paint. Hard top though, not convertible. I don't want all that extra road noise because it's a soft top. But reliable sports car. LC500, Lexus reliability. It's got that nice normally aspirated V8 engine, that nice little growl that it has and the pops. Oh, I've drove it twice so far, 2 different ones. And both of them were in the 70s. They were used. I can't afford it, man. I can't afford a $70,000 car. I just can't. I have to eat beans. I have to eat garbanzo beans and make hummus from them and stuff. I mean, it's just, there's no way I can't do it. So anyways, one day, hopefully, if not, que sera, right? I'd love to own one, but I'm happy with the car that I got now. It's electric. It doesn't cost me much money to operate or maintain. And it's a thing of beauty. And I paid $34,000 for it. So which is still a lot of money. You know, I'm not saying 30,000 is nothing for a car, but I didn't spend 120, you know, or 70. I think the most I've ever spent on a car was 54,000, and that was on the Polestar. So I don't know. Other car brands that I would possibly own. I know I kind of went on a rant there, but let's see: Honda, Toyota, Mazda, Ford. Let's see if there's another good American brand that I like. Not really. Don't like Chevy. Don't like GM. Don't like Dodge or Ram. Well, the Ram trucks are okay. They've really come a long way with their interiors. Yeah, honestly, I think that's it. I would probably stick with the Japanese car manufacturers mainly, with the one exception to Ford, and that's it. Japanese, no one makes a car like them. They make great watches too. Seiko Presage is a nice watch for under $500. I think that's all I got to tell you. I just wanted to give you some advice, you know, for you youngins out there that might be getting ready to spend their hard-earned money on a vehicle, and make sure that you can afford it. That's the number one thing. You do not want to be car poor, and because when you're car poor, say you go buy a Mercedes, right, AMG, and you're like, fuck, I can barely make the payments on this thing. I got to put premium gas in it. That's also more. It's Volvo's too, premium gas. And you're just like, damn, you know, like I can barely afford this car and I have to eat ramen tonight because I got a damn Mercedes AMG. That's no fun. And then when you're taking it and parking it at wherever you're going, you're like worried about it because the car's so damn expensive that if it gets a scratch, it's going to ruin your day. No, man, don't put that kind of stress on yourself. Buy something that you can afford to pay off within 4 years. No more than, they say, like 10% of your income. So, yeah, I would, if you even want to be more conservative, say 10% of your net monthly income. You should spend no more than that. And don't tell the dealer what you want your monthly payment to be. Do not reveal that information. That is the number one thing you should never tell a car dealer is what you want your monthly payments to be, because they can work all kinds of magic with the numbers to get you to that payment. You might not get the car you want, but they'll get you to that payment. But anyways, yeah, just learn from me. I've bought 26 cars with the Camry. So that's car number 26, even though that's the wife's ride. I think I'm going to steal it every once in a while. I do love it. And I think that's it. I think that's all I got to tell you. If you guys had any questions, concerns, comments, leave them in the section below. And I hope you guys are getting something of value from my channel. If you'd like to see any kinds of different content, let me know, and I will try and make that. I try to do a smorgasbord of content, things I find interesting, things that I like. You know, I try not to be so, talk about the negatives, things I don't like that much. But yeah, you guys, thank you for watching, and stay safe out there and take care.